Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and put all the hearts together. We are about to have Tim of Rise Against joining us right now. Hello.
Hello.
How are you, Tim?
I'm good. I'm great. Sorry I'm late.
No, not at all. You got a busy day ahead of you. I saw that schedule.
It feels like a first day back at work in this virtual world.
Like the first day back from like that 2 week break and said this one felt
Right.
like a decade long. It was
hmm
wild.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. Yeah.
By the way, my name is Mo. I appreciate you for being here with me today. A lot of fans are really excited to be listening to everything that you have to say. And as I was telling them, you got this new album, Nowhere Generation, coming out June 4th. This new music video you dropped, the new song we just played. You know, there's so much involved with that. But I want to get to this first because I understand during the pandemic, you actually went back to school. And I'm curious, besides the pandemic, what was the biggest motivator for you to continue your education?
Well, I left school as a senior maybe, or more accurately, the band kidnapped me around that time. And so I went on the road. And then I always wanted to return. I was a person who liked school.
Mhm.
And when we finished this album, it kind of dovetailed into the pandemic and the lockdown, which in a way worked for me because after I finish every album, I go into full emotional collapse. And so I just go hide in a room somewhere and I don't want to be seen for a while. I use every ounce of my energy to make these records. And so my calendar in a lockdown was looking a lot like it was going to look anyway, you know? And
Yeah.
but then the pandemic obviously extended longer than any of us anticipated, and I wasn't quite ready to create yet. I wasn't quite ready to pick up a guitar again because we had just finished this record. And I thought to myself, like, I'm done talking. I want to do some listening.
Mhm.
And that was where school came in as a way to like listen, to try to tick some boxes that I left unticked back in the day. And also kind of like, you take your body to the gym to like do what you do, but I wanted to like kind of take my mind there and kind of like keep it going. And so school became a way to kind of do that and dive in. And I did that until I felt ready to like get back into it and dive back into music, which is kind of where I'm at today.
Yeah, nice. How much longer do you have to graduate?
I probably have at least a couple more semesters. So
Oh, wow. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So I don't know how close graduation is, you know, but I'm enjoying the journey like more than maybe like the destination.
Is it nice? Because I also read somewhere that your classmates and your teachers don't really know who you are. So is it nice to just kind of have that, uh, how should I put this? Them not just saying yes to you all the time and actually correcting you with things.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. That's exactly how I felt about it. It was so refreshing to kind of like have somebody like heavily edit something I created and say this is wrong and this is wrong and you could have said this better. Where I feel like there are people who may be hesitant to do that, in my world. And so I crave that feedback. And so that was really exciting to have because the teacher doesn't really care who you are. They care about a deadline. They care about the quality of your work and if you're going to make it through it. And so I felt that same pressure to like to get this stuff right. And yeah, it was great. And there were times where it was a lot of pressure. There was times where I was really busy and I was like, I'm too busy and I can't believe you voluntarily signed up to do this and you're actually paying money to make it happen. So like,
Well, on top of that, yeah, you have your family life, your
mm,
kids going back to school, doing online learning, like, balancing all of that has to be tough.
yes, balancing all of that became tough at times. It was a great thing to keep me busy. I'm glad I dialed back now, so I have more time to do my day job. But like, it was definitely it was a lot of work. It made me sympathize with my own kids who are in high school and junior high, and they were doing a lot of remote learning, that kind of thing. And so I was doing remote learning, and I saw how hard it was to kind of stay focused and engaged and do all that. So whenever they were distracted, oops, sorry, I had a lot of sympathy for their distractions. So
Oh, yeah. Um, and that's been probably one of the biggest I guess, arguments, if you will, during the pandemic is, people, going back to school or online learning and how difficult each one is, especially during that time. Does anything like that, as far as education goes, reflect in your music for this new album at all?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Because, you know, the music that we write about, especially like political punk rock, it's talking about the institutions that we are all kind of corralled into every day. The structure that we live in and how it informs our life and our choices and all of that. And so it was very helpful to, like, in a way, brush up on that, and
Mhm.
think about, I was doing a lot of political science and a lot of sociology. And so it was a lot of talking about civil society, the origins of civilization, why we are a society, why we aren't just cavemen, just like trying to hunt food down. And especially last year, as you were watching the seams of society kind of get pulled apart a little bit, as people
Right.
were like really starting to question, like, well, why do we have these things? Are they the things that we can make better? Are they the things that we should burn down completely and start over? And so those were all great things to kind of go back and to the origin stories of why our society exists the way it does, if that makes any sense.
No, it definitely does. It's peeling back all of the layers that we've applied to ourselves and society and just remembering at the core of why and who we are. And I think, a lot of the pandemic kind of did that for a lot of people. It may have put some people in a bad mental place, but then some people actually took advantage of it to try and educate themselves to be better. And I
Yeah,
think, it's a bittersweet thing. You know what I mean? It took something like that for people to start really thinking about it.
I think you're absolutely right. It's like everybody was able to kind of reflect on what works for them and what doesn't work for them. And as a country, we were reflecting on which institutions work for us, which ones don't work for us, And so we needed that moment of no distractions to really focus on that. And in that way, I think there's some really positive parts of that deep breath that we all took last year.
Was there anything that made you want to rethink things that you were doing?
Yeah, I think when I was turning the news on and I was seeing a lot of people living in these like alternate realities, like whether it
Mhm.
was like conspiracy theories or whatever it is, and you saw people that were really believing like some really crazy things. My first thought was very like dismissive, like how can somebody believe that? And then I realized, what? There's so many people that are believing these kind of like these alternate realities. There's got to be people in the Rise Against world that are also part of that. And I was
Mhm.
thinking about like how can we be part of the solution here? How can we make sure people don't fall down these rabbit holes? Because we've always been a band that questions the establishment, and I always want to be a band that questions the establishment, but I never want to be somebody that pushes somebody into these really bizarre narratives that not only have nothing to do with reality, but what I find so offensive about some of these conspiracy theories is that they take the focus off of real conspiracies. You know what I mean? Like, I think
Yes.
like institutional racism is a conspiracy, like the global warming and oil companies funding disinformation, that's a real conspiracy.
Mhm.
Like those are things that are real things that are happening. We have evidence that they've happened and are still happening. So we should be focusing on this. And when you take the focus off of it and you start talking about like, I don't know, lizard people or whatever else, it's like attention that should be somewhere else. It kind of it muddies the water is what it does. And
It
so
really does. It
mhm,
really does. And it's
yeah.
hard to see too because you see a lot of your family members or a lot of your friends
Mhm.
getting stuck in this muddy water.
Right.
And
And it,
and that's a tough thing too. You want the best for them, but everyone has to make up their own mind and decision. They have to want to be educated instead of it being shoved down their throat kind of thing.
totally. And that's so true. And that's even the fine line that Rise Against has tried to walk in the last 20 years. And sometimes we do, sometimes we fail, sometimes we're communicating with you, sometimes we're on a pedestal and we're too soapbox about it. And so you're always trying to find like the right balance that gets to people. And you see when it works. You see when it's reached people. And so you try to hone in on those moments and say, how can we keep doing this?
Absolutely. And the great thing about Rise Against is you have this amazing art for people to share and enjoy, that want that, that crave that. And
Yeah.
so, I just appreciate it completely. I want to talk about the album artwork for a second, if that's
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um, for everyone that hasn't seen it, it's like these over a dozen stacked TVs with like that black and white filter over it.
Hmm.
Someone had said that if they squint their eyes hard enough, there is a giant middle finger in the TVs. Is that true? Because I was having a hard time seeing it.
I,
Conspiracy theory.
right, conspiracy theory. That was the fun part about putting a lot of that imagery is like there were things that we intended for that imagery to invoke, and then there were things that we did not intend. You know what I mean? And so there were people that sort of like going at it, like trying to figure out and decipher some of these things that we meant to be deciphered, but then sometimes finding things that we didn't anticipate. I don't think we put a middle finger in there. I don't remember. I don't remember doing that. I mean, we should have put a middle finger in there. That would have been a really cool idea.
There's
But
still time to repress it, right?
yes, right this time. Yeah, we can change it all. So, but I love our fans' engagement with it. I love that they make up their own ideas about it, because that's what even our songs are. They're what the songs mean to you matter as much as what they mean to me. And sometimes the listener is able to shed a new and unique light on a song in a way that I never thought about. And that's what makes songs and art so cool.
Oh, absolutely. Now, this new album again, Nowhere Generation, coming out June 4th. Is there a song in particular that you're really excited for people to hear?
Oh, that is a great question. Man, I'm excited that Nowhere Gen is out. And
Hmm.
then I think there's a song called Rules of Play on there I really like. There's a song called Forfeit, that's a little more stripped down and acoustic that I'm excited for people to hear. Um, there's some ragers on there as well that I think people are gonna love. Yeah, there's a song called Talking to Ourselves, and there's a song called Last Man Standing, I think. And those are all like just great jams.
Oh yeah. So majority of the album, really.
I know. I just like I didn't. I need to think about that. It was like they're all my babies. You know what I mean? They're all my babies. I love all of them.
You have to love them equally.
So true.
I know you got a busy day. I got two more questions for
Of
you.
course.
Back in October, you guys released Broken Dreams Inc. for the graphic novel Dark Knight's Death Metal, which
Yeah.
was awesome. Love that song.
Great.
And
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. There's been this amazing trend lately of bands coming out with their own graphic novels. Is that something that you would probably think about doing in the future as a
Yeah.
band?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. Because when DC Comics approached us to do the Broken Dreams collaboration thing, I thought it was really cool. I was also trying to figure out like where do we tie into DC Comics? You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I'll admit that nobody in the band. Well, I say nobody, but Zach's a big comic nerd. We weren't really connected to the whole comic culture. So I was like, do we do two different things? Do we do similar things? And as I was talking to some of the artists on a call like this, I realized like, oh wait, like we're all telling stories here, man. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
This is what we do. Like you're telling your story with a pencil, you know, and
Mhm.
I'm telling my story with a guitar, you know, and it's stories that cut through the noise, really, because we live in such a highly partisan world of we're all in our tribes and we're this side or this side. But stories cut through the noise. You know,
Yes.
stories are what people listen to. It may be the only hope we have. It may be the only thing that could really bridge that divide. And in that sense, I've found this whole new respect for graphic novels and the comic world, because I realized there's a lot of issues of justice and a lot of issues of ethics that are happening on those pages the same way they happen on our power chords.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. There's so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm excited for that. I'm really looking forward to that in the future if it becomes a possibility. And then one last question. This is actually from a fan. Lily Lucky Girl on Instagram wanted to know, Rise Against is known for creating politically charged songs. What other themes can we expect from the new album?
Ooh, so this album, I learned this from my college semester as I was working on a thesis. Like a professor told me that, you know, you could work on a thesis with an idea in mind, but sometimes when as you're doing it, that thesis can change, you know, or sometimes you don't even know your thesis until you finish the work that you're doing. And that's what this album was for me. I didn't know what I was working on. I didn't know what the lyrics were talking about. I mean, I knew what each individual song was talking about, but I didn't know what the overarching theme of the whole thing was. And as I finished them, I realized this record is really talking about how young people today feel like they're swimming upstream against this insurmountable current, and a current that is no longer natural the way it may have been for a generation that grew up in relative political stability or economic stability, but a current that was being manipulated to make it even stronger. A current that was being manipulated to do things like create a rise of the 1%, to create concentrated wealth, to create a decay of the middle class, to create climate change in the name of capitalism and our response or lack of response to that. You know, we were living in a world that was, instead of planting seeds, we were just ripping crops out of the ground and just hoarding them, you know? And so that became the theme that was kind of running through a lot of these songs, was how do we get back to a place where we're planting seeds again, we're creating a future again. And I think that's sort of, well, I guess that's probably the best answer to that question.
It's definitely a great answer for sure.
Okay, good.
I am looking forward to this new album, Nowhere Generation, again, out June 4th. New song out now as well, as long as their music video. Go and check it out. Tim, thank you so much for spending time with me this morning. I truly appreciate it.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you. Thank you for supporting it. Thank you to everybody on here who's checking it out too. We definitely appreciate your love and support, and it feels good to be back.
Very cool. Well, we're excited to have you. Take care, man. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, you too. See you
Bye.
next.